Hello again, it's Milt with Living Like a Boss. Back out here today, we're on the D4 Cat. It's such a beautiful day. It's nice and sunny and warm, above zero. Things are melting off, so time to do a little bit of a continuation of the research of the oil pressure on this cat. I'm going with the oil pressure gauge in the dash is not working, so I went through the tickle trunk here and I got a couple other oil pressure gauges. This one here is actually a fuel gauge, and it's actually so discolored and it's full of fuel. I'm sure it's working, but can't read it very well. I'm just going to tie it into the line, tie a pressure gauge into the line and bypass the one that's in the dash to see if we get some oil pressure. This one here is got no oil in it, but it's so rusty. The needle and the gauge itself is rusty. You can't really tell what it's doing either, I guess. But at any rate, I went and ordered myself a new modern oil pressure gauge. Goes up to 80 pounds. And it has this here little micro plastic line that we'll have to tie into the main thing. But it sent they sent some fittings, so I think it's all going to work out. We'll get that installed and go from there. Well, the fittings that they supplied managed to go in the manifold there, and the little miniature plastic line going up to feed the new gauge. I left the old line there tied to the old gauge because at a later time I'll have to remove the dash because I got to pull the pony motor for a gasket anyway, so I'll change everything around at that time. But right now I just got I never even cut that plastic line. It's just still full length what they shipped, and I got it tied to the actuator bar for the hydraulic system. And it's an 80-pound gauge, and it's just tied there to the bar and should be good enough for the purpose we need so far. So now we'll just go over and see if we can get this thing started and see what we get for pressure. Okay, got the gas turned on. I did earlier this morning checked oil in this, and it was a little murky, so I drained the oil out of the pony motor, put brand new oil in, gassed her up, and so now we're gonna see if we can get this thing started. Kind of hard to see the way I got the camera, but it's going up to almost 20 pounds of pressure, and as it pushes the oil up, you can see it tracking through that little clear plastic line. And that's not going to be an issue. It's full of air, but it's still going to transmit the same amount of pressure. This is the temperature of the pony motor up to 79 degrees just shortly after started. Here we have the temperature of the head, which is actually number 4 cylinder area close to the pony motor, showing, I believe it's 29 degrees. Now this reading here is in the number 1 area of the head, between the filter tower and injection pump area, and it is showing 27 degrees, I believe, and that just indicates to me that the coolant passages in this D4 engine and pony motor engine are fairly clear, if not clear completely, as compared to the same kind of a experiment I did starting up my D6. It was very slow to transfer any heat at all. This one here transfers heat quite quickly throughout the head. As you can hear in the background there, the old D4 is actually running, but it's popping and farting and wheezing and really running pretty rough. I anticipate that I got to do a lot of bleeding of the injectors and the pump and the whole system actually. I did put some ATF in the fuel tank in hopes of running that through and maybe clearing off any varnish or anything or whatever would be hanging up on the injectors of the pump, or etc., etc. But anyway, the next time, which will be tomorrow, we have this thing running. Hopefully it will be running quite a bit smoother. Good morning. It's the next day here, March 18th of 2023, and we left off yesterday just having the cat idling at a pretty rough idle. And so today we're going to carry on forward with this project. I want to get the mainspring underneath the oil pan of this cat, because I don't like really crawling underneath there, just sitting on blocks. Especially now it's thawing out and blocks are starting to move, and so I want to get that mainspring in there. A couple of things got to be done before then. Number one is find the mainspring underneath the snow. It's going to take a little bit of time digging around. And then number two, I've got to, I'm going to use the Clark, the forklift, to help raise that spring up. But the last time I ran it, the manual choke just pulled apart. So I had to order a new one. I got a new one in now. And so first thing we got to do is fix that choke. This is what happened to the choke last time. This whole rod just broke off, pulled right out. And it goes underneath that floorboard and over here underneath, and circles around on the other side there, and gets attached to the choke side of the carburetor, which is right here. So we're going to disassemble that, pull that apart, and get the new choke put in. Well, that wasn't too hard. Here's the old cable. Got that out of there. This here part of it broke off. Otherwise, it was, looks like it's not that old. It's not original, that's for sure. So anyway, moving on, we got this here little device here, brand new, and let's see here. It's quite a bit longer. Didn't want to run out of darn cable, that's for sure, I guess. So we'll have to trim that. I'll trim it to the same length as the old one. The old one was, holy. I thought I got a 3-foot one. This is probably 8 or 10 feet. Oh my goodness. I guess they just send out good long length, and then you can just trim to fit. So I'll just cut it off at that length there and go from there. Well, okay, I think we got her beat. Seems to function real nice, so I just cut her. Most of that length was cut off, like 2/3 of it I cut it off, and I didn't throw it away. me being the old scrounger, I'll just tie that up with tape and hang that on a nail in the wall. Never know when that's going to come in handy. So okay, so we got that project fixed up. Now we're just going to move over to here. Somewhere in there is the main spring for that cat. So I'll have to do a little poking and prodding, figure out where that is, dig that out. Well, after a little digging, finally found that spring over there on the side. I had to dig down. It was in the deepest part of the snow, of course. But there's the spring. Now we'll just get set up and we'll pull it into place. Get that thing underneath the oil pan. I managed to pull the end of that soft sling up through the machine, through different obstacles, etc., where it would give enough pull up and a little sideways pull to pull it toward this set of tracks here. And amazingly, it did work out fairly good. Well, that's getting closer. Got the one hanging up here, one end hanging up. Just pulls it in quite a bit closer, and I'll just get a rope or something tied to this other end and swing it on over. See if I can get it fit in there. We're pretty close. I had to reposition that sling so it turned the spring around from the other direction, so that was a little bit of a workout. And in here, we're just sitting on top in the middle of the saddle there, so I just got to go to the other end and pick it up. We'll see what happens then. This end of the spring, I got a slip chain on it. I think I can pull it up by hand and get it in that saddle. Well, it's in there. I think it's in the right position there. I haven't jacked the engine down yet, but I'm going to lower those bolts out of that oil pan where it holds the spring in place, and I got to work at new pins and that equalizer spring or auxiliary spring. I got to work at that, straighten that out, get new pins and keepers and stuff. But at least I feel better having it sitting up there, and it's got the spring going across there. So that's about it. We're going to call the video a done deal for today, and I'm going to go work on getting that auxiliary spring lined up.